Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Smoke Show, aka the Three Count Podcast. My name is Ricky Smokes. I'm here for a good conversation with my boy, and I'm ready to get into it.
Do you wanna get live with me? Do you really wanna ride with me? I'm in the club, baby, grind on me. Do you wanna get live with me? Do you wanna get live with me? Do you really wanna ride with me?
Welcome everybody to another great edition of the Three Count Podcast presents Now Entering, and I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller, and the man that leads you up that mountain called wrestling. And by now, you're on season 4, our 300 and something episode. I would just hope you say with me, I am your Sherpa, because like your tribal chief, acknowledge me. But like every good Sherpa, you gotta have someone who's been there, done that, and can do it more efficient than you can. And that's why it's never about me. It's about who's entering the ring. So who's entering the ring today? You can find this man at the Wrestling Open. You can find this man at Fight Life. You can find this man at PG, Rad Pro, Limitless, Chaotic, and Test of Strength. He is well-rounded. He's better looking than you, and he is always coming with the fire because he is the Smoke Show, Ricky Smokes.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me, brother.
Hell yeah, man. I'm super hyped about this because, we met each other at the Wrestling Open, and I was like watching you kind of like each week, just like seeing, and you just have like this ability to like get the crowd to just overly commit to their hatred of you. And I was like, hey, yo, this is the kind of heat that people need to be seeing. So I was very excited to see you. And then I saw you at Chaotic, and I was like, hey, yo, man, this dude's fire. I like it.
Thank you, brother. Yeah, I mean, I like getting the crowd loud, regardless of what they're saying, whether it's hate or love. I mean, I guess sometimes I go out there trying to get love, but I don't get shown it. So I guess hate's better than nothing. So I'm gonna lean into it.
Yeah, as long as like, and it's something like Eric Bischoff used to say all the time, right? Whether they love you or they hate you, like business is good. So you always want to be on like that level of like, I can't stand you, or I really want to like you, but you just give me all the reasons to not like you. Kind of like a MJF type kind of personality.
Oh yeah, 100%. He's probably like the peak of like getting people to hate you, or just like getting people to love to hate you. 100%.
Yeah, it's one of those things too. Like I know when I'm like working in like the DMV, like I thoroughly love working down there because like I can get heat or I can get love, just kind of depending on what the promoter wants, and it's a lot of fun. And I remember like being up here in Maine wrestling at Supernova. Uh, they had their guy come out and he like generated like some heat. Like he was still like the crowd was kind of like trying to like get more into him, and then the more he started talking and just like I'm waiting, the crowd got into it. And the moment I came out, the crowd like erupted. And like, yeah, they never seen me before. It's the first time I wrestled in the Northeast. Well, this is like the second time I wrestled in the Northeast, and so it was just fun to like be a part of that crowd.
Yeah,
but it's cool seeing you work, bro. Because like when you come out and you like flexing on the crowd and you just like walking through everybody, let them know like what's up. Like it's fun watching the crowd like hate you because I'm like, hey, yo, this man is living his best life right now.
definitely.
Doing this.
I've been told I got a real hateable face. I don't know what that means, but that's a compliment or an insult. Regardless, I guess that might be part of the reason why. So I'm just gonna walk out through the curtain, start flaunting, start flexing.
It's funny because like we had oh man, I gotta remember Getty Calhoun's best friend. He wears a tuxedo in the ring. He's the gentleman, the dapper gentleman. Anyway, so he's the gentleman who walks through, and everybody keeps telling him that he has a punchable face.
Yeah.
And it's like one of those things. Like certain people have this ability to just like, and not saying that you do, right? But they just have like this natural look of like wanting, like people just wanting to punch them for no reason.
Jealousy, in my opinion. It's just jealousy. Like, bro, somebody went into it in detail for me. It is like one of the fans at a chaotic show, and he was saying like, "You just look like the kids who picked on me in high school." And like so like your first reaction to that is like, "Damn, man, I'm sorry." But then like, hey, if that's like the subconscious like reason that like somebody sees you as like, "Oh, I know exactly how I feel about this guy." Or like I get the deal like right off the bat, and like that's exactly like we're just trying to elicit a reaction. So, like,
but you like walk out there and you're like, "Yo, what's up, everybody? Give me some love." And we're like, "Boo!" And you're like, "Well, that's not the actual reaction I was looking for, but all right, we'll go with it."
And like when I say like I would like a reaction of cheers, like I'm not doing that. Like there's nothing wrong with that. Just like trying to like feed for love from the people. But like, hey, I just go out doing my thing. I'm not messing with anybody. Just like flexing and like walking through a curtain, just like not saying anything. But like, I mean, hey, I would love to get cheered. It doesn't happen. I'm a nice guy when you get to know me. I like to think. Well, like nobody agrees with that. It's like, no, this dude just looks like a.
He just looks like a douche. That's
Yeah,
it.
okay, good. I was just about to check. Can I say douche on here? Can I say
Yeah, no,
douche?
you can. Hey, full transparency. You can fucking say whatever you want on the
I guess
show.
I'm just worried. Fuck yeah, dude. I'm just worried my mom's gonna see this. That's my.
I'm glad you brought that up, right? So we had Robin and Charlotte, the Renegade twins, on the show, right? And the podcast was kind of clean for the most part, right? And we
Yeah.
get to the end, and it's one of the questions I'll ask you on the show too, right? But it was favorite curse word, and
Oh, my favorite question.
we went into full details about the F word and saying the word shit and stuff like that. And so anyway, I run into them in Delaware, right? And we have this fun ass conversation. And then they mentioned to me that their mom like didn't like the episode, right? So I'm like, yo, what do you mean? Like we didn't do anything bad. And then they started telling me more reasons of why, right? And I was like, oh, I can kind of see like what they're talking about, right? Mom's like doesn't like the fact that they're cursing. She kind of felt like they were trying to bury the school, which there wasn't. We were just talking stories.
Yeah.
And their dad was like very much a fan of the show, which I didn't know at the time. So when I'm up talking trash to Robin and Charlotte, their dad comes over and goes, "Hey, Cliff." And I was like, "Yo, hey, well, first of all, how do you know that name?" Right? Because I don't say that in anywhere. He's like, "Oh, I'm their dad," you know. And I was like, "Oh, hey, what's up, sir?" And then I go and I run into their mom, and I was like, "Yo, I heard that you don't like my show." And she's like, "You're the one with the interview show." I was like, "Yeah, that's me." And then as we started talking, ayo, I watched her go from like all this heat to
Yeah.
just flip over, and she's like gives me all this love, right? And I bring on LSG a year later, right? And we talk, and I kind of do the same thing. I clip out a section of where we talk about cursing
Yeah.
and about moms hearing you curse. So I'm gonna clip this. I'm gonna send it over to her so that way she sees it. Because I do this every year. Anytime someone talks about
Yeah.
their mom hearing the podcast, I'm like, whatever. We're gonna tell the story every single time.
Yeah. Yeah, and I completely understand it too. Like my mom, not the biggest wrestling fan, but she might watch something that I'm a part of, and especially like their parents being fans too. And then just like, oh, this is so nice. I get to see my daughters on the show and stuff. And there's oh, what the fuck, really telling stories like cussing and all that. I completely get it. That's a great story though, especially for their parents to be into. That's really cool.
So let's just dive in, right? Because I'm really kind of curious. Who is Ricky Smokes?
Bro, Ricky Smokes, the future of professional wrestling. Just a Massachusetts kid that was always a fan. I feel like the beginning of my story, like my background isn't anything like special compared to everybody else. I was just a fan who never really outgrew wrestling and decided to pursue it. So I got into it while I was in college. I switched schools in order to go pursue it. I was just balls deep, for lack of a better term, into getting to be the best version of myself I can, be the best wrestler I can.
No,
So I think Ricky Smoke just started once I started being a professional wrestler. Everything before that was just preparing me for that.
it's such a beautiful thing that when you think about like you get invested into something so much, right? And then it just kind of engulfs your life. But what ends up happening is you have like this kind of fun story that kind of builds in the background as you're like pursuing it, right? Like I'll be real, right? Like I've been doing this just under 4 years now, right? And I just turned 38. Full transparency for everybody who didn't know that. Now you know. But anyway, um, like I was in the military, I was in college too. Actually, I was an amateur wrestler in college.
Yeah.
And then like I turned around and I always had this infatuation with wrestling, with pro wrestling, and I wanted to get into this as much as possible, right? And from 2003, when I first started backyarding back in like 2002, and then got in, then 2003 I went to college in wrestling, and then I went into the military in 2005. I just kind of kept it in the back rearview mirror, but I never really pulled the trigger on it. But what was so cool was that I was moving constantly as a kid because I was in the military as a military brat. So I was moving constantly as a kid, always trying to make new friends. And then I, joined the military myself and was moving around, right? And I
Mm,
moved from Matt. Actually, I was here in Massachusetts back in like 2012, and I wanted to pursue wrestling, but we ended up moving to Georgia, which I had a friend who was in. At the time, it was called UPN. Uh, UPW, United Pro Wrestling. And so he was wrestling there in Tallahassee, and I was like, or in Jacksonville, and I was like, yo, I kind of want to do this, and I never pulled the trigger. And then we
yeah.
moved to Maryland, and I was like, I kind of, wrestling probably is not gonna be my thing. I'm probably too old for it, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But because of everything that I have done, like in my life, in my shoot life, it really evolved my character and changed who I was.
Hmm.
And now, like the version of Red Dog really isn't like a version of Red Dog. It's just me, like, cranked to 1,000. And I'm sure that's the
Yeah.
same way with you.
Well, yeah, that's what I was gonna say too. I think that's really interesting how you brought up how like so many other things like got in the way of you pursuing wrestling. But, like end of the day, like the beginning of the story is like that's what you knew that you want to do. You want to be a part of wrestling like any way that you can. I think that's the case for like so many different people. Except for me, I think while I'm doing other things like in my life now that I've graduated school and that I have like things to occupy my time during the day, like it was 100%. I never really had like anything get in the way of me trying to pursue
Mhm.
wrestling, like for sure. And that's part of like so many people's stories. So that's interesting to hear. Like you finally, even though you're saying like you're too old for this, you're too old. Like look at you now, dude. So
Yeah,
you're
and that's what
4 years later.
yeah, and that was the thing though, was like at 34, I ran into a kid, right? Actually he just got married. Congratulations, Justin. Shout outs to you.
Shout out
But
Justin. Hell yeah, dude.
yeah, so I ran into my boy Justin, right? And he was wearing he was wearing a John Cena t-shirt, and we were at the gym and I was working out. And
Yeah.
while we were working out, I kept talking to him about pro wrestling, and then I lost track of him, right? And then like randomly another year later, I run into him at a grocery store, and I was like, "Yo, what do you do?" And he's like, "Well, I'm a wrestler." I was like a pro wrestler?" And he's like, "Not exactly." And I was like, "Ah, I know what you do now." I was like, "Bet." I was like, "What kind of shows do you have?" And it was because of that moment that I made a decision to go to one of their shows, one of their backyard shows.
Yeah.
It lit the fire underneath me again to want to pursue what I was doing. And then like from there it just took off on its own. And I actually um one of the episodes you guys have already seen probably, Zach Xander, he knew me from the backyard, and he actually is pro as well. Like he wrestles actually at a sanctuary in Pennsylvania. But it was so cool to finally meet somebody who was like, "Hey, willing to take me on, train me, and then teach me the ropes, and then just kind of let me go from there." And then, like 4 years later, here I am in Massachusetts, back trying to re-pursue this dream and like get more match time.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, dude, everybody's story is beautiful.
And you know what? So what was the moment that got you into like, hey, this has to be the move for me?
Pursuing wrestling, dude. If I could think back to like one moment specifically, I just remember being every holiday like I would have family over, like Christmas, Easter, all that, and I had an older cousin John that was maybe in high school when I was maybe like 8 years old, and he would just like come over and just like beat my ass, like just beat the shit out of me, like showing me wrestling moves and all that. And he was like a offensive lineman, like huge, like captain of his football team, probably like 6 foot, like 200, like 30 pounds, and or maybe more than that. And he was just like throwing me around, and I thought this is like the coolest thing ever. That like when it was just like the dynamic of just like smaller guy, like underdog versus like big guy, and I felt like in my body's like I don't know what I gotta do, but I gotta like beat this guy, just like in a fight, knowing
Yeah,
that we were both like super big wrestling fans. But I just remember like the feelings I would get from just like trying to like fight my cousin, just like got me so interested. I see. I'm over explaining it just because it's fucking. It just brings up like
it's
so many.
lit though.
Just from like being such a big wrestling fan with my cousin, him just like beating my ass, and me just wanting, like me being like in character, I guess. You think about it. Like I felt like Rey Mysterio going against like the Big Show, and I was like, this
And
is
that was a
so
perfect
cool.
example. That was the one I was gonna bring up. Actually, this is exactly the one I was gonna say.
For real? Dude, that's great. But like that got me super duper into wrestling. It's like bonding with him, especially as I got older and we both stayed like really into it. But I just thought wrestling was so cool when I was a kid, just having him to like watch it with and then do it with. And then just him beat the shit out of me. I'm like, one day I'm gonna beat him. And then now it's like my arc with Cashew. With Brad Cashew at Chaotic Wrestling is the
Yeah.
exact same thing. So it all comes full circle, dude.
It's funny because, like you mentioned, like, you were 8 when you kind of had that moment, right? And I think I might have been, like, a couple years younger than you when I had mine, right? My moment was, Jake the Snake Roberts and Macho Man when, Macho Man got bit by the
Oh, the
cobra.
snake, dude.
That was
Nightmare fuel.
that was the very first thing I saw ever.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, dude.
And I was like, "Yo,
Yeah,
what is this?"
you're not gonna see that anywhere else. Like, show me another TV show where Snake just biting a dude on the arm.
Yeah, and not like a
More
and it's not like Anaconda, right? Like the movie where it's like an animatronic snake. No, this is a real snake,
real
dude.
snake. That's so scary. Like, if I were a kid at that time, that would give me nightmares. Like 1000%. Maybe I wouldn't have pursued wrestling. I'm like, I don't want anything to do with that shit.
I was so
Yeah,
infatuated. I was asking my aunt because she's the one that introduced me to wrestling, right? And
yeah.
I was like, "Yo, is it like this every week?" And she's like, "No." And she's like trying to cover my eyes, and I'm like trying to like
Yeah,
move around, like move, trying to watch what's happening,
yeah,
because it was like that moment that I was like, I kind of feel like this is something that I want to do, and that kind of like I saw it then, and then like a couple years passed, and then I saw it again, and I saw the Lionheart Chris Jericho
mm,
show up to WCW on like a Saturday night main event, something like that.
yeah,
And then I fell in love, and then I saw Nitro and Raw, and I just the wars were going on, and I was just in the middle of watching all this greatness happen, and like you, I just never grew out of it. Everywhere I looked, wrestling was like always around. I was like, this is life. When I saw Rey Mysterio pin Dean Malenko in Panama City, Panama for the cruiserweight title, I was like, yeah, this is it. This is where I gotta be at. This is the
yeah.
greatest thing ever.
So, did you want to be like Jericho? Is that why you brought him up? Like, he was somebody that you like were inspired by directly?
So what's crazy about Chris, right, was that in when I got into the business and decided that this is what I want to do, right? He was one of the people that I wanted to model my
Mm,
character after. Just his moveset, I think his like swagger that he
yeah,
has, I think it's just very infatuating. Him, Eddie Guerrero is like
yeah,
another big person I love to pull from. And then I
yeah,
love, like, other like AJ Styles, obviously, is, like, another person. I like guys who are great technical wrestlers, but then also have, like, the ability to be that big brawler. Like, I love seeing, like, AJ's, when he does a vertical suplex and he drops, like, he does the neck breaker onto his knee.
yeah,
I think that's just so cool, and I'm like, "Bruh." Like, so these guys who are, like, about my build, right, is the kinda guys I like seeing, like, work because I'm like, "Yo, they're telling stories way different than, like, like, even more than Rey Mysterio, right? I love Rey Mysterio, he's my favorite wrestler of all time, but when I look at Ray is always the underdog. There's not a time where Ray is ever like, "That's the dude. He's the bigger man in this competition." But
yeah,
Jericho has that ability over certain people, and we saw it when he worked with
yeah,
Sammy Guevara, right, just recently. We've seen it when he's worked with Eddie, when he's worked with Dean Malenko, and then we've seen him on the other side where he's worked with, like, a Big Show, right? So, I feel like when I look at him, I see me, and I'm like, yeah, those kind of guys are the guys that I wanna be like, so that's why
yeah,
I started getting more attracted, like, find myself, like, studying their tapes and learning from those guys.
yeah. Those flashy guys that can just pull out like a brutal move or looks like a Mortal Kombat brutality.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Who are the wrestlers that are inspiring you to, like, develop you?
Dang. If I were to like categorize, they go by like different groups. Like
Yeah.
when I was like really, really younger, like my top without a doubt, like John Cena is just Superman. Every little boy who watched John Cena on TV, like has to idolize him in some way, shape, or form. Like he's just like the staple of like that generation. I had a fat head of him on my wall all up until high school, like a life size 6 foot, just like in the back of the room at all times. He was 100% just like my top guy as a kid. As I got older and got back into wrestling, like in high school, like you were saying with a Jericho, like to me, like Seth Rollins, once I really had a realistic plan, like how I'm gonna pursue wrestling, go get trained, I was like, I need to style myself after like a Seth Rollins. like 100%. I thought
Yeah.
he's just so well rounded, and I'm not the first person to say it. He's just like one of the guys of like that generation.
Right.
And then now, as I've been in wrestling, like training for about like 5 years, and then like working for almost five, I would like there's too many names to name because now I see wrestling so differently. It's like I can pick out a couple names from different places, but like my favorite to watch of all time is like Randy Orton. I think he's like one of the. Still, I'm not the first person to say that either. I just think he's like the top of like what I'm trying to be, if that makes sense.
No, that's 100% makes sense. Like
Yeah,
kind of
those
like
are
that
my pillars.
sadistic side of him.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
Dan, there's my cat.
Eight.
Wake up,
Oh,
buddy.
it's okay. It wouldn't be the first time we have a pet come on the show. We've had
Oh, that's
them
cool.
like
Maybe they can hang.
yeah. No, it's interesting though because like for me, like my character, like I wanted to kind of build a character that was like he was a mercenary, but he's more like on the fun side of things because that's the one thing I feel like a lot of people kind of like forget that like you can be that military type dude, right? But then what people think is they're like, well, you got to be like stoic, like you can't really let things bother you. You got like either you're filled with like a bunch of rage or you're like
Who are these
tactically trying to
people? Who are
yeah,
these people telling you how to be?
right. So I was like, yo, I'm gonna tell everybody. I was like, the military, much like pro wrestling, has like this super dark side, this dark humor that we laugh at all the time. And I was like,
Mm,
I want to tap into that because I think that is something that more veterans or and more people are gonna relate to because one, my dude comes out like an all red suit. So he looks like Deadpool already. So
mhm.
kids get gravitated towards that. I make a lot of crazy dumbass jokes like while I'm in the ring, right? Like I had a practice match at the open and dude kicked me in the back and I was just like oh right in the spine and like
Yeah,
it got over but it
yeah,
didn't get
yeah.
over with who it's supposed to get over with
Yeah,
but
I
it's
know.
like but you make these you make these kind of like quip puns and stuff like that because they're gonna relate to your character so like now it's like all right I also wanted to start pulling from like other people that were just kind of in that same atmosphere, but then also had like the crazy side. So when I look at someone like Orange Cassidy, I'm like, yo, that's the character right there. Like
Oh, yeah.
he's funny because he's like he obviously wrestles different than everybody, but when you look at his character and the way it's that is pro wrestling 101. Like
Yeah.
that is you got like, and I started trying to plan my matches now where it's like, hey, we're gonna do all these like these little crazy comedy bit spots right here really quick, and then you're gonna take over. And once you take over, now it's all gonna get like serious. Like we're gonna have to put guns, all the guns will be unloaded, and
Yeah, you can flip the
I
switch at some point.
yeah, and that's where like I'm starting to like it took me a little bit to kind of understand that part of it and start to piece it all together. But now that I'm like starting to get it, like I can watch and this is where like watching game film helps. I've been watching like a lot of like wrestling and then understanding like, oh, there it is. That's how that would happen, or this is where that happened at. And then going back and reviewing and studying and understanding and watching the crowd and see how they react. And now I'm like, yeah, now I can see how this is all gonna work. And so it's funny, but I finally started to crack the code to myself.
Yeah. And like when think about who you are, like you don't want to be like anybody like two dimensional that only acts the same way all the time. Like if you're watching like a real person and you're like embodying that person, like that you should be able to flip between being silly at some points and just like I mean maybe like not watching what you're saying coming off as like super serious all the time and then be able to like flip a switch like a human does. Like, because even somebody who's like super duper serious is gonna be like soft sometimes. So like bro, I'm so silly. I'm silly all the time. But I feel there is always a point in time where you have to be able to like flip a switch and get serious.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's like that doesn't mean I'm going back and I'm no longer that person I was before. But like if you want to really embody somebody who's like truly like realistic, then you gotta be able to go back and forth like that.
Yeah. And that's what I love about like when I'm in the middle of like doing a match and like putting stuff together, like I'm being like super comical at the front, and then like the switch hits, and then I hit like a big move, and then like all of a sudden like all that shit stops. Like we get into serious mode. Hey, we about to try to win this fight. Like I
Yeah,
gotta get this money right because plies and Big Macs don't pay for themselves, and we
yeah,
gotta
yeah.
get this.
Facts, dude. No, but actually, like, and that is the reason. It's like I'm ready to win right now. Like you've seen fighters all the time, like UFC and boxing, go out there and they're doing like their gimmick, and like whatever they do in their entrance, they're all full of life, they're cocky, and then like 9 rounds in, they're getting pieced up. It's like now you're not going to see that out of them because like, oh, I'm in for like a real challenge.
Yeah.
Oh
You
yeah,
see
dude,
that a
you're
lot
having
with
a good time.
one of my favorites was like Conor McGregor and Jose Aldo. Like a lot of people will be like, well, that fight didn't last very long. Well, yeah, no shit, because as soon as Conor like saw that Jose was trying to strike, the Conor McGregor that went from hey, I'm gonna play around a little bit, went nah, bip,
Dead
got you,
serious. Yeah.
and just ended it. And that's a perfect example. But then what was funny was that he flipped the switch back on. He was like, "Hey, who's the next motherfucker that wants to fight next?" It's just
Yeah,
like,
yeah. When it's
okay,
time
there's
for business, you know how to act. Yeah,
yeah, I definitely love that. Hey, so you've been in for about 5 years, so I'm kind of curious, like, what's the worst bump you've taken?
bro. I like the craziest thing I've taken. I would have to really like look back and dig. I've taken like a spinning suplex off the top. I remember like hurting the most in my match with Mortar at the last Cold Fury when we opened the show. Like near the end, I take like it's almost like Gold Dust Final Cut. It like both of us on the top rope spinning, landing in the ring. I remember that was just absolutely brutal. I I'm glad that that didn't happen early on in the match or that we weren't out there for much longer after that. I remember that being like some of the most pain I've ever been in. But I've also had like concussions
Yeah.
and like sprains of ligaments in my knee. Like when it comes to like one specific instance, it was totally that where I was just like messed up afterwards.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to get more to back for it ever since.
Yeah, and I one of my worst ones. I've told this story a few times on here was when I first started training, right? I thought I would tell myself like, "Yo, dude, like your finishing move is gonna be the big senton that Akira Tozawa hits." And then I hadn't even really been training that long, maybe like a few weeks, and
Mhm.
I just went for it
Yeah.
and I hit the ground. Mind you, my training facility is outside, and it's February, and it is
Ah,
cold. And I
yeah,
hit
yeah,
that mat, and that ring did not move. And I was like, "Never again will I do
yeah.
this."
Hit the frozen mat. Yeah, dude.
It was
I
ice
gotta say,
cold.
I gotta say that that's not fair. You did backyard wrestling. I'm sure you took some worse bumps than I have.
You know what's funny though is that I'm one of those that like I'm fortunate to say that I haven't really taken any like crazy bumps because like when I
Ooh,
worked in the backyard, I really didn't bump that much. I
yeah,
really didn't have a good handle on it. I didn't really understand like how to throw myself down, right? So I
yeah,
was like very cautious about when I did bump because I was like, if I bump too many times, I'm doing it wrong. I'm gonna mess myself up. And so when I went and started training, getting trained by a pro, like I started bumping all the time. And even at that, like I'm doing like dumb dojo bumps, like
yeah,
2, 3 years in just by myself. Like you
yeah.
just want to throw it down. And it's one of those things where it's like you have to be you have to be kinda careful because you don't even know, like, who's trained in what and who's not
Oh,
trained when you're working in the back yeah, someone will come, "Oh, let me hit you with this German suplex," and they land you too high, bro, that's lights out, you know what I mean?
yeah,
So,
exactly.
like and and the funny thing is, uh, Alex Kane, right? Shout outs to him. He did a thing where he's like, "Show me your German suplex, and I'll rate it," because you know he's a suplex assassin.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I sent him mine. He's like,
for
"Yeah,
sure.
you're a 10 out of 10." I was like, "Let's go."
Nice.
Literally,
Good
he didn't know
stuff.
that I had backyard. He didn't know I had an amateur background though.
Yeah. No need to tell him either.
No, now he does now. I mean, we're pretty tight. He
Yeah.
knows now. So,
I mean,
but yo, what's one of the hardest lessons that you've had to learn being in the business?
hardest lessons I need to learn. I think just that it doesn't come easy, and that's like long term or short-term success. And it's not that I went in thinking that everything's gonna be handed to me or that it is gonna be easy by any means, but I think it's a whole new reality. Like when you look at it, like even just getting bookings is like so competitive. Like there's so many really talented people around us, especially just like being in New England. And while there are like a lot of opportunities on shows, like to stay consistent on the shows that you want to work for is tough. Like you need to beat out like hundreds of other people when you think about it. And that's just like being able to keep yourself ready like all year. Like I've never competed in a sport. There are no other organized sports that compete year round. So it just being able to be ready at all times is so much harder than I could have ever imagined. It's not just like, well, you get kind of 8 months off and then when baseball season rolls around, you gotta be in shape for it. Like, no, this is you gotta be ready year round. And guess what? There's other people who've been doing it for longer than you, just as long, that you're gonna be competing with. Technically, like show to show or week to week or month to month. So I think just that I've never done anything nearly close to it is really my answer for like the hardest lesson for
No,
sure.
that makes a lot of sense though, because that was something that I learned. Like even going from like the DN, like being in the DMV, there's not very many shows that show up at the DMV. Like especially in
Mm,
Maryland, like Maryland really has like 4 or 5 big promotions that really run, right? Everything else is kind of like West Virginia, Pennsylvania, you know, DC, right? Jersey, Delaware, like you're kind of in that area. But
yeah,
in Maryland itself, there's like 5 big companies that really kind of run, right? And everybody knows MCW, right? But what people
yeah,
don't realize is you have Adrenaline Championship Wrestling, you have EWA, you also have like Voltage that runs every once in a while out of there, and then, like, sometimes you might catch another show that might pop in and out, right? But
yeah,
it's tough because 'cause you're, like, always like, you have to always stay on point, and this is,
yeah,
like, the one field, right, where, like, it reminds me so much of the military, and I think that's what, like, helped me kinda stay on the grind because, like, in the military, we have this idea of, like, you have to hurry up and wait, right? You have to hurry up to get somewhere, but you gotta wait, right, once you get
mhm,
there, and then you gotta stay patient and stay ready. So, coming here and doing this, right, like, I've been in the New England area now for, uh since beginning of July. And like, I'm not gonna like, be all same. I've had like 2 or 3 matches, right? Being here, but you see me consistently show up to the wrestling open
yeah,
every week because I'm like, hey yo, at any given time, there might be an opportunity where someone comes to me and says, hey, we want to book you for the show. And I'm like, cool, give me an opportunity. I just need the
yeah,
opportunity. And then I know that if I stay there long enough and I network around, like those guys are gonna all help me get bookings to go to other places. Like because of that opportunity, I showed up to Water Everywhere, right? And I helped set up the ring, I helped set up chairs, did all those things. That got me the opportunity to wrestle Rage Ass, right?
yeah,
But because I got the opportunity to wrestle Rage Ass, um, it got me the opportunity to go help set up at Pro Wrestling Grind where I met Ashley Stevie, right? Who is the person who
mhm,
runs Kaiju Pro Wrestling. So it's like you learn how to network and you learn how to do those things. And then because I had such a great relationship in Delaware, uh, one of my friends out there, Sean Carlson, was able to get me hooked up with Supernova Wrestling. So like, and I didn't have to like I was, like, always ready to just turn up just in case,
yep,
but I was always, like, just in relaxed mode no
just
matter what.
wait,
Yeah, because I knew I was ready. I didn't have to get ready.
yep. Oh, dude, yeah, you get it.
Yeah, it's wild. Like, this is and that's what I'm saying, like, I feel like that you saying that though, like, at such a young age though, is such a huge thing. Like, people have to understand that, like, 1, this shit isn't given to you, but 2, you have to be on your A game, but you also have to learn, like, You can you can you can throttle down to the B game, but you always have to be ready to jam that 5th gear because somebody always somewhere is either calling out or they're getting they got hurt, right, the show
Yeah,
before, they got sick. Something always happens on these shows that will present you with the opportunity, so if you stay ready, you never have to get ready.
yeah, and that's something I'm still working on now. I'm not going out nearly as much as I think I should be. I'm not putting myself out there in the right spaces at all times, like I feel like I should be. But that's part of it too. If you feel like you are, then you're just content. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But like,
Oh,
there's always more you can be doing, and certainly like where I want to be at, I'm not there yet.
and what's funny is that, like, I know for me, like even like right now, like I know that I could go to a school and go learn and go work on my craft, right? But like I just got off of like doing 2 shifts or 2 training sessions with back-to-back clients that at my shoot job. So I'm like, all right, let me chill, and then tomorrow let's go somewhere. Let's go work, right? Let's go put in some time, put in the grind, and figure out where we're gonna go. And if unfortunately, like right now, I'm dealing with a fucking sinus infection. Sorry for
Yeah.
those who didn't know, but I hope that tomorrow I get cleared up so that way I can go out, right? Because the school that you train at is the school that I've been like wanting to be at for years.
Nephilim, baby.
Yeah, I was like, yo, I was so hyped when I saw that, and I was like, bro, this is where I want to be. And I see chaotic wrestling, and I'm like, yo, that's the spot, And I know that
Yep.
coming through, helping out with the shows and stuff like that is gonna all that stuff's gonna pay off, but you have to be willing to put in the work. And then like I said, it's one of those things that that was said to me too, and I kind of knew that, but I kind of like let them kind of keep pushing it towards me. Hurry up and get where you got to get to, but take your time. And
Yep.
it's a true statement.
I'm gonna hold on to that, dude. Hurry up and wait.
Yeah, hurry up and wait. It's like I'm gonna tell you right now, in the car is my gear. It's just in the back. It's in the car.
Oh,
It's
dude.
always in the back seat.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. That was one of the first
Al-
things I was taught once I was like just about match ready. So you never ever know. Like if especially you're going to help out at a show, you don't bring your shit in. Don't be like that.
Yeah.
But you need to always have it on you. Driving around. Like if I were dream scenario, like if I was driving, like hanging out with my friends or something, we go out and then we just see like a pop up like wrestling show. It's like showing up. It's like, what if I didn't have my gear?
Right.
And I'm missing out on, and like that's an extreme scenario. Like you're rarely gonna just like be walking around like, oh shoot, wrestling show, I could get. But like it really is true that you need to be ready at all times because any opportunity could be a big opportunity.
Facts. And it shows, man. I mean, like, what was it? Gabe Spolowski, is that
Well,
yeah, was talking about the opportunity that he saw Carmelo Hayes, right? Like he
yeah.
saw Christian Casanova just at a show with like 12 people. He just
Mm,
walked in, just sat down with the crowd, liked him, saw something, brought him to evolve. Like you never know like what's gonna happen. So
mm,
you're right. Just imagine at one time like you stopped at a show and then you're just like, oh, I don't have my gear. Then the guy's
yeah.
like, I can't use you. You could have been that guy.
Yeah. And you better just be ready in ring shape and all that too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Because I no off season. Hardest
No,
sport in the world.
that is the craziest part about like pro wrestling is that you're constantly like my trainer always says there's 3 types of shapes, right? You're either out of shape, in shape, or you're in ring shape, right?
Yeah.
But if you're not in at least in shape, you ain't getting in the door, bro.
Yeah.
Like, I think about cardio is so important in this world. And like I know like I'm fortunate enough to say that I work in a gym and I'm a trainer at a gym. So like I'm constantly working and like keeping my strength up, my body in a good position. I don't want to say like a great position because it's not, but
Humble.
yeah, there's no joke about that. Like being in shape
Mhm.
constantly matters.
Yeah. Dude, I'm also working in a gym. I work as a strength coach. I work as a strength coach at a gym, MC Strength and Fitness, Reading, Massachusetts. Shout out. But I'm
Shout
surrounded
out.
by middle school, high school, and college kids who are all trying to get recruited and play sports at the next level. And I work out with a lot of them personally. It's a private gym. But so they like, I don't work out at that gym very often. But these kids like are going in, putting up like numbers. Like there's kids committed to colleges right now that would just like destroy me, bench, squat, deadlift, whatever it is. So like they're like kicking my ass to want to like keep working on myself. Like at New England Pro Wrestling Academy, we have a facility and all of that. And I go in, I get to work with people, I get to learn, I get even like teach like the newer guys. Well, like I expect those guys to be working hard. Man, but I come back to work at my day job, and then now that there's these like 16, 17, 18-year-olds that would just like destroy me in like some fitness competition. So I gotta be on my A game just to even be a credible like coach to these guys too.
I tell people all the time, and this is my favorite thing to tell people, and you'll probably use this too later. I want you know when people always talk about, hey, there's that guy that's always out there working harder than you.
Yeah.
I want to be that guy.
Yes.
I want to be that guy. I want to be the guy that drives you to want to work harder than me. Like I think about like did you ever see the Redeem Team
Oh
story
yeah.
on the Netflix? That's
Yeah.
me. I want to be Kobe Bryant. Like when you're getting in the house at like 4 a.m. and you're like, yo man, I just had a great job or I had a great time at the club. It's 6 a.m. I'm in the gym.
Guess what? I'm already
working.
there.
I'm already there. I'm already.
What's that? What's that? You just got home from the gym. So did I. Now I'm on my way to the gym. Be that guy. I'm him.
Going back.
Yeah, bro. I want to be him.
Yep. I want
whoever he is. He's just the guy working.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I want to be like, man. Did you see Red Dog, man? Like that guy just went to the gym at like 6 o'clock. He's doing match study right now, and he said he's going back to the gym at 5 o'clock. Like, how are we supposed to compete with that? Like, work.
Yeah, I want to be his nightmare.
Yeah. One. That's what I yearn for. I want the people to wake up and be like, yo, I'm not doing enough. Like, what's Red Dog doing? Like, that's what I want.
Exactly. What would Red Dog do?
Hey, so let me know. Let me ask you something. Before we jump into my favorite part of the 3 Count podcast, I just need to ask you one thing. I need one do and one don't of the locker room.
One do and don't, dude. Let me think. One do. I want to say something about handshakes, but I'm not sure because I think everybody should go out of their way to show respect to everybody else, whether they're a student helping on the show or they're a veteran or they're working on the show behind the scenes. But also, somebody going so far out your way to like try and shake your hand when like you're busy doing something isn't the same as showing respect. So I think when it comes to dues, it's be as respectful as possible and make it known to the people around you that there is like a mutual respect, whoever it is. But what you don't do is when somebody's busy or like you see the promoter of a show, don't annoy them. Thinking like, don't annoy them, like going out of your way, disrupting what they do because you have to show a face. Make it natural, bro. Be cool. You know what I'm saying? No, that's a lame one.
No, full transparency. No. That's one of the best answers that you can give because like there's so many people who like hover around the booker or the promoter and they're like, hey, yo, man, like I just want to let you know, like, hey, what you doing? Let me talk to you. Let me have your ear. And they're taking up so much time that's like, bro, like, you're backfiring your shit.
And bro, I think I've been that guy. But like with good intentions, like being super duper new and seeing like the reason I say that is because like I'd see like a promoter on a show I'm not normally on, and then just like, oh, I gotta go talk to him. It's like once the show starts, he's gonna be too busy. I have to go talk to him. Be like 19, like 20 years old, and then just like going out of my way, clearly annoying this guy who has like a big show that they've invested time and money into, just to be like, hey, by the way, he's like, my name's blah blah blah, like nice, very nice to meet you. Like that's annoying, bro. Well, like you can be respectful without doing that, is what I'm saying. Yeah. I mean, you're like a new guy. You should show everybody respect and shake their hand. But it's like to make it play it up like such a big thing when you could just be like pissing somebody off who like came to work today is another. So it's like show respect how you can.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I like that.
Well, like I've been that guy. Like with good intentions, not to be like, no, I need the promoter to know that I was here and I helped out. Like that's not cool. That's not the same thing. But like be as respectful as possible while still like putting in effort to help out in any way that you can.
Well, it's like
I do and my don't, I guess. But I think something.
No, I love it.
That's more like egregious things that you can do. Like clearly. But
it's because like the one thing I did, and like when I was at the, I'll bring up a perfect example from last week, right? So I walk around and say what's up to everybody at the open, right? And I know Drew's locked in his mode, right? So I'm just like, I'm just watching him do his thing.
That's what I'm saying. I don't want to bother him.
Yeah, so I'm like walk around and say what's up to everybody, right? And I know like he's busy doing this thing, so I walk up to him, right? And I just like hit him with a salute and just keep moving, right? And he starts, and I was like, he's like, hey, and then he like salutes me. I was like, yeah, you got the good salute. Normally, I just like eye patch people. And he
Yeah.
just starts laughing. But that's my way, right? That's my way of just
Yeah.
saying, hey, I see you. You know, I know you see me. I'm out, and I just go to the
Exactly.
bag. Like I gotta go take a piss anyway, so I'm just gonna go ahead to the back and help out the guys with the ring and stuff like that. But that was it. Like, but
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely understand the point of being like, where's the promoter? I'm right here. Hey, do you see me? Do you see me? Do you see me lifting this board? Do you see me putting this mat
Exactly.
down?
Yeah. Yeah, I came out the gates hot, so I want to come out. I want to come out like I'm saying like there's anything wrong at all without just like showing face and like doing your part and helping out. But it's like I just remember being so full of like anxiety, is thinking like I know I'm supposed to go talk to the promoters. I need to do it right now when I'd just be annoying them. And now it's like I think it's really cool. Like Wrestling Open, for example, yeah. Like sometimes in the beginning of the day, I'll just like see Drew is like clearly busy. And then just like wait till you get an opening, walk by, fist bump skis. Be cool, bro. Be natural. Like
Yeah.
chaotic wrestling's my home. I might not talk to like the promoter for a while until like the show's about to start. I'm like, hey, yo, what up? And then they know that that's me. That's how it goes.
Yo, so we're gonna hop over to my favorite section of this podcast, right? My favorite thing about this podcast, and that is the 10 count questions. And here's how it works, Mr. Smokes. I'm gonna fire off 10 questions at you rapid fast, and whatever your answer is, that's your answer.
Cool.
So we can put on an imaginary timer for added pressure. Bing! And in the words of my favorite commentator, Mike Goldberg, here we go. SmackDown or Raw?
SmackDown.
Favorite movie?
Super bad.
Yes, let's go.
Yeah.
Marvel or DC?
What was that? I'm sorry. Oh no.
Marvel or DC?
Oh no. DC.
Favorite actor?
Robert Pattinson's cool.
Okay, let's go. PlayStation or Xbox?
PlayStation.
All right. Favorite cartoon?
I'm timed on this, right? I would say I loved Ed and Eddie so much.
Let's go. I could dig with that. Good jawbreaker is what people need in life.
Oh my god, I've been searching for those my whole life.
Apple or Android?
Apple.
Favorite podcast?
The 3 count pod, baby. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Right here. It's not like we promote this show, right? Nominate one person that you want to see on this show.
Mortar. So I can be on it too and confront him for hitting me with such a stupid, dangerous move that hurts so bad.
And then last but not least, my favorite question to ask every single person who comes on this show. Favorite curse word?
Fucking balls, dude. That's what I say the most. I had to think about that for a second. I just want to see what came up natural to me. Sorry, it's not one word. But because that could be like a good thing or a bad thing, I would say.
Yeah.
Or just an answer to an objective question. Yeah.
No, I tell everybody all the time, like if you there's a YouTube video out there, right? And it was like before viral was going viral, like this was the thing. But it's called The History of the F Word. It's like 2 minutes and 39 seconds long.
Yeah.
It's like the greatest thing ever. It talks about like how you can use other words to exemplify the words that you need to exemplify, or you can just throw the F word in the middle of a word and just like make it that much more powerful. I'm like, yo, yes.
And you know exactly what it means.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I can use fucking balls as a phrase like 10 different ways.
There you go.
I'm not
I
done.
love it. But the last thing I need from you, man, before we wrap this up is to let our listeners and our viewers know where they can find you.
Bro, I got a few shows coming up in October, a few different shows. I'll be at Wrestling Open. Anytime you want to go in October, go to the White Eagle. You'll probably see the Smoke Show there. Chaotic Wrestling, we got a show in Tewksbury on the 6th, show in Watertown on the 27th. You can also find me at Rad Pro Wrestling in Amesbury on October 21st, and Fight Life the next day on the 22nd.
There it is. And I know you got what's your social handles?
Smoke Show _RS on Instagram, and then Smoke Show Ricky on Twitter.
There you go. So he told you where you can find him. He gave you his handles. And so the last thing that we need to do is do our favorite part of a wrestling match, you know?
Please
take this home. Because this is 3 Count Podcast presents Now Entering, and I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller, the man that leads you out that mountain called wrestling. And like I said, it's never about me. It's about who's entering. So who's entering? You see him right there without his shirt on. It is the Smoke Show himself, Ricky Smoke. So you guys know what to do. Tune into the next episode and be there, or you're legitimately just following us on all of our social media platforms. You're subscribed to our YouTube channel. You're following us on Spotify. You're listening to us on Amazon Music, leaving us 5-star Frog Splash reviews on Apple Podcasts, and you're even checking us out on iHeartRadio. You're doing all that stuff. Checking us out on the Big Plus Network. Tell your friends, your family, your pets, your enemies, the one who got away. Right? I know she's out there. It's okay. It's okay. You'll be fine. But anyway, you're doing all that stuff, or you're really just kind of like waiting for this to end, waiting for that outro, and then you're choosing another episode to listen to. Kawaii. What's going on? It is Clifford Red Dog Miller, the man that leads you up that mountain called wrestling. And what we need from you guys is just kind of show some support, right? We want you guys to go to our YouTube channel at the 3 Count Podcast, go on to our Twitch channel, 3 Count Pod, or even our Facebook page, 3 Count Podcast, and just give us a like, follow, subscribe, even give us a comment, right? Do all that cool stuff. Share it with your friends, share it with your family, share it with your enemies, right? Or you can even come talk to us and just chat us up, right? Find us on Twitter at 3count_pod. Find us on IG and on TikTok at 3 Count Pod. Go ahead and leave us those comments. We want to hear from all of you guys. We're going to keep putting on videos and stuff like that. We want to keep making this content better, so we want your guys' support. Also, if you guys want to, go support us at prowrestlingtees.com/the 3 Count Podcast, or even find us on foryourwear.com. Give us the support. Show us your guys' love, because we want to give it right back to y'all. So, in the meantime, between time, love y'all.